That's it. I got a couple coats of paint on it, as you can see. Nice little chair rail, some accent pieces underneath. Alright guys, welcome back. New project. As you can see, I am in my foyer. I don't know if this video is out. If it is, then you saw the French door installation. Unfortunately, this casing that I just put on, we have to rip off because we're doing wainscoting in this foyer. Pretty much around behind the door, this wall here, and then the wall here under the stairs, and then right up to these corners. So, first thing I gotta do is destruction. I have to take all the molding off the bottom and these two door casings off. I have new door casing that's thicker to accommodate the 1x that's gonna make up the wainscoting that we're gonna build. So I'm gonna go through and rip all these pieces out, all the base molding, quarter round, all the way around the room, and then we'll measure out 6 pieces for these doors of casing to cut out. This is the easy part. When we start building the wainscoting, it'll be a little bit more difficult. So let me get started taking this out and then I'll be right back with you. So the best way to do this, nice sharp razor blade. You want to go through all the seams and just give a quick slice. I am throwing all this out and doing new stuff, so I don't need to save it. So that makes it a little bit easier. This stuff is really hard to save, especially if it's MDF built. Usually with the nails will actually ruin it when you're trying to pull it out. But I like to go through all the seams, the corners. This way you're not pulling the drywall out when you're pulling this stuff out. I'm just gonna go through all these seams, all the corners, and then what you do is you just wanna get in here. Usually just pry it out. If you need to use the hammer, you can. Like I said, it's tricky to save because it does eat away at some of the stuff. And you wanna make sure you get the nails out. Same thing with this. Get a nice knee pad too. I want to be careful on this wall because I'm not planning on doing anything but just putting molding back on it, so I don't want to hurt that wall. Definitely want to get yourself a little pry bar for this. It'll make it a lot easier to get these nails out. Not worried about any of this because it's all going to be hidden by the molding when it goes back up. That's it. Then we'll just shave this down, make it nice and smooth. Like I said, we're going to put molding back over it anyways. So I'll just keep going with this, and the casings the same way. I'm just going to trim them all with a knife and then pry them off. And then when we're done with that, we'll cut some new casing. After a bunch of prying and scraping, this is what you end up with. A whole bunch of this, all the way around to the casings. As you can see, all around the door. So, after I vacuumed it all up and swept it all up, now we can move on and start cutting these casings. So pretty much what it is a piece on this side with a 45, which you measure right up to this point. Because you always want to measure the inside corner up here. You can see it right in here. So you want to measure up to there, and then you're going to cut the same one for the other side, except the opposite 45 cut. And then the top piece will measure that same spot from this inside corner to that inside corner. And then we'll cut that one at 45. So I'm going to cut 3 pieces for this, 3 pieces for this one. And once we're done, we'll nail those back on, and then we can move on to building each box panel for each one of these walls. The casings are up, as you can see. This door, that door. Just to give you an idea why we changed it, this is the old casing, as if you can see it. Much smaller. It actually only came out to about right there. So now, the difference here is that when I put that 1x up here, you can see how much thicker it is from this. Now you could definitely use this casing, you just have to use a thinner piece of wood, so you have to do like a 1/2 inch or smaller thickness. Or you could take the 3/4, you can bevel it in at the edge here if you want to beat it back. I wanted to do it this way because I wanted to use 3/4 inch wood. So this is actually 7/8 thick, so 3/4 wood will sit just inside of this a little bit. So when I do all the boxes down here, they're all going to sit inside of here. So that's why I ended up changing these out. So that's what we got now. You can see they go all the way down to the floor. I'll have to finish them eventually and paint them and everything. But now what we're going to do is we're going to start building the boxes. I'm going to start out here, I think. My thought is, now this is where it gets interesting, is out here. This is such a small area here, and I want to build boxes in here. So this one will be fine, but this one I'm gonna have to come up with an idea because I also want to put trim inside of the boxes to make it a little bit more colonial. So what I think I'm gonna have to do is cheat these pieces a little bit skinnier. And what I might do is, because this piece is about 3.5, and that's what they should all be, I might do half on each of these corners and make it 3.5 total. And that way I'll have a little more space in here to put the trim molding in. The nice part about wainscoting is there really is no particular way. You could do whatever your design. I mean, I looked at so many different designs online, and this is the one I came up with, which I kind of just made up of pieces from the other ones to make this one, because I liked a little bit of every one of them. So that's the nice part. This one's obviously easy because it's just going to be one square. When we get to some of the bigger walls, we're going to measure it off and see how many squares makes the most sense. So you'll see as we get going, but I just wanted to give you an update on these moldings being all in. So now we have this edge to work with to make all our measurements. So here it's going to end right here at the edge. So what I'm going to do is build this box first, and then I'll leave a little bit of a gap from this edge so I can line it up perfectly with this edge. And then this edge will tuck away, and then when we put the cap on it, you won't see any of it because the next piece will come across here, and then we'll just silicone that edge or caulk the edge. So it'll work out good. So I'm going to start at this corner. I'm just going to go get some pieces from the garage and we'll start piecing this together. Just give you a little update. This is the corner I showed you upstairs. This is what I came up with. I ended up doing 3-inch rails for all the styles. This one, because I only have this much height going to that door, I figured I would cut this in half it to make this 3 inches, and that way I can cheat it a little bit. It'll look like 3 inches in the corner, but I'm not using all the space because this piece is going to go in here like this, and that'll leave me just enough room to put the trim molding inside of here and make it look good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to Craig jig all these pieces on the back side where all these styles are connecting, and then I'll make each panel into one panel, and then I'll install the panels one at a time. I'll nail them into the wall. But this is how the base molding's going to go. So when the base molding's on, there'll be a 3-inch reveal here, 3 inches on all the sides, and then at the top I'll have the same thing. There'll be a chair rail on top, and then it'll be a 1/2 inch piece of trim on that, so then it'll be 3 inches at the top. So the whole inside of this frame will be 3 inches of reveal, and then you'll have base molding and then quarter round, so it'll all be finished at the floor. So let me get the Craig jig out. I'll jig some holes in here. We'll put them screw these all together so they're nice and clean, and then we'll take them upstairs and nail them in. Well, there you go, guys. Make sure you get yourself a awl and a hammer. Get all these trim nails in here so they're a little bit under. I put the MDF boards in here that I cut out. These are the 2 panels that we built downstairs. And then I cut a bunch of this trim wood at a 45 to make a little picture frame here. And then we just nailed it in. So if you get a good look at it, we'll caulk in here. Around all these edges we'll have to caulk and sand. Make sure this is all nice and smooth. We'll fill all the holes in. And then we'll just primer. This is already primered, that's the way it comes, but we'll primer all this. And then everything will get painted white. We still have to do a cap on here, which I haven't decided what I want to do yet. So we're just going to keep doing this. You can see how I did cut the corner here to make this, because I needed more room to put this in here. Otherwise it would have been white over to here and I would have had this little tiny space of picture frame, which I think wouldn't have looked as nice. So that's what I came up with. And then down here we'll do base molding to finish that all off. So hopefully I'm going to keep jamming out on this, and then we got a whole bunch of painting to do. Update. As you can see, I got everything taped off here. The front ones are done. They're all primered here, as you can see. Now I just have to finish up. I'll show you these ones here. Here's what I got here. So what I have to do is finish cutting in these trim pieces that go inside of here. This is all primed already. What you have to do is, this is all the same height in here, all of these squares, because that's the way it goes when this is all level. So I built this so it's all even. So I have to cut 13 pieces up just shy of 26 1/4. So I got to cut those. Then I'll have this piece and this piece, so I have to cut those 2. And then these angles I'll have to cut. But these ones will just be, so these 3 will be the same size lengthwise, so 6 pieces there. And then same over here, these ones. These are the same as these ones, so those are the same, but these will be a different length because these 2 squares are a little bit different on each side. So I got to cut all these trim pieces. All the rest of this is done and primed and ready to go. I had to fill in all the holes. I had to fill in all these slots up here. and then sand it down with the power sander so it's nice and smooth, because you don't want to see the edges. So yeah, we're in good shape. I'm going to keep going. I filled in all the edges down here at the base molding. All the nail holes are all filled in. So really I just got to finish up these trim pieces and then prime those, and then we'll be able to put paint on this. The one thing I wanted to tell you, a little tip here. Obviously you can see this is kind of an angular little section here with the triangle. What you need to do is figure out what the angle of the stairwell is. And then once it's trial and error. I grabbed some scrap pieces and cut a couple. I mean, you can take a protractor and measure what the angle is. But usually when you cut a couple pieces a couple times, little scrap pieces, then you can really get the angle perfect. In this case, the stairs are 41 degrees up, which means the other angle you're gonna have to keep in mind is 49 degrees. So these angles are 41, but like this angle right here coming this way is 49. So this cut right here is half of that. So that's what you have to keep in mind, and that goes for the one down here too, if you can see it. This is a 49 degree cut right here. You also have to keep in mind that some miter saws won't cut 49 degrees. They only go up to, usually most of them will go up to 50, but it can get a little tricky when you get into the longer pieces. Some of the cuts will be 49, some of the cuts will be 41. So you want to keep those two numbers in mind. And then whatever the meeting place is going to be half of that. So if it's this cut is 41, then this is going to be 20 and a half by 20 and a half. So you cut each piece at 20 and a half, and that's how you get that perfect seam. So that's the only tricky part with doing this. You just have to get those angles. Once you have those two angles, then you can cut all these pieces. Perfect. So yeah, we're good to go. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to get these trim pieces in. I'm going to go downstairs now and cut them, and then we'll nail them all in, and then I'm going to prime them. It's all trimmed up. I got both these walls all done. They're all trimmed up. I filled all the holes in with the filler, and here I'll show you the filler real quick just so you can see what we're dealing with. This is the plastic wood filler that I used. It's called Plastic Wood by DAP. Works real great. You can just take your finger and just fill all the holes with it, and then it worked for the edges here too. I put it on there a little thick and then just sanded it down with the sander. So if you want to get your hands on some of that. One little thing I just wanted to point out was this little section. What I'm going to do is I'll take you downstairs, because this is kind of tricky. These obtuse angles right here that have to be cut for these two corners. I'm going to show you a neat trick on how to do these. Now these are obviously the same as these. It's just an inside cut instead of an outside, if you see it. So they're 49 and 41, just like the stairs. But you have to cut these a different way. These are still 24 and a half and 20 and a half. But let me take you downstairs and I'll show you. So down here at the miter saw, my miter saw actually does do obtuse angles. It'll actually go all the way to 70 degrees at the corners. It's one of the reasons I bought this miter saw in particular, but it's almost easier to do it this way. I'm going to set this at 20 and a half. So this is 20 and a half to the fence. Then what you could do is take a nice straight edge like this, which has a nice 90 degree edge on it. Now what you do is line the wood up. Now you have to cut the pieces flush first, whatever length you want, but now use this as your straight edge, and you want to watch your finger here. But you can put this down like so, and you want to line it up with the back corner of this piece of wood we're using as the fence. And then what you can do is hold down tight with your finger here. Get this nice obtuse angle right here. So that's a neat little trick to do it if you don't have a long enough, you know, if this doesn't swing enough to get all the way out to here. Just use a piece of board. You know, the bigger the board the better. Just watch your fingers here. It's going to be kind of tricky. So if you're not comfortable, you might want to get somebody to do it, but you'll get a perfect corner for that inside edge. So that's how I did those. The same thing, you're just measuring from edge to edge. You just have to make sure you line it up. So I'm going to go upstairs, finish priming and painting, and then I'll show you the finished product when it's all done. That's it. I got a couple coats of paint on it. As you can see, replace the cap over there. There is some paint on the floor, but I still have to put quarter round down, which I'm going to pre-paint and then put down the pieces. So this is what you get for a finished product. Nice little chair rail, some accent pieces underneath. Cut all these pieces. Like I said, these are easy because these are all the same. So literally you can cut all those pieces the same, and then these are all the same for these panels. I got the base part on here, put that back on, gave it a nice coat of white. Looks pretty good. So anyways, I'll do a quick video. And if you, I know I got a lot of people that haven't subscribed yet. Make sure you subscribe. Eventually we're going to be moving upstairs to do that secret bookshelf attic space. Stay tuned, and I will catch you in the next video. I'll leave a link to some other videos if you want to check some else. Alright, take care.